Hello, this is Grant Hughes of Grant Hughes Investigates on YouTube. If you could hit that like button for me right out of the gate, that would be great. Today's video is regarding the Idaho 4 murder case, which Brian Koberger committed, and he killed Ethan Chapin, Xana Kernodle, Madison Mogan, and Kaylee Gonzalez on November 13th, 2022, at the longest range between 408 and 420 and 47 seconds, at 1122 King Road in Moscow, Idaho. Now today's video is going to discuss the newly released that I was able to get from FOIA request, so it's been released to me, two different documents. Well, two of them are videos, which are the Floyd Cannabis Shop video, and we also received the DoorDash delivery FOIA request. Now, I was the first person to order that publicly, but apparently there's people out there that can get documents in other ways because I've confirmed that I was the first person to order that using the FOIA request, etc. But it is out there, but I just got it last night, and we'll be going over that in this video. All right, so let's get started on that right now. All right, let's just start off with the Floyd's Cannabis Shop. Now you can see when the Elantra came in from Pullman, it came down this road like this, and here is Floyd's Cannabis Shop in relation to everything else. Here's Moscow, Idaho. So you would drive down the highway. He came in, and then he ends up over here on Indian Hills Drive and drives around and then comes back into the residence area, 1122 King Road, at around 3:30, and he stays in the area until leaving at a high rate of speed at 4:20 and 47 seconds. All right, so back over here, here is Floyd's Cannabis Shop, and you can see from, if you were at Floyd's Cannabis Shop, the cameras show that the car comes in like this and then straightens out. One camera faces that direction, and another one's more straight out like that, although you can still see over here. All right, so let's take a look at that. So here we go. You can see way up in the upper right hand corner, that is the light coming around that corner that I just showed you, the highway between Pullman and Moscow, Idaho. And you can see the vehicle up there. It's the white Elantra. And in this video right here, you can also see at the very end that this is the same car but a different angle, same time and everything. 3:02:22. And you see it come around in the upper left hand corner, and then right there you can see it's a white vehicle. White, looks like a white Hyundai Elantra, or Hyundai Elantra. Okay, here it comes around the corner. It's a little bit zoomed in here. You can see it. There it is, the white vehicle. That's the first video. And here's the second one. You can see it in the background there, coming around that corner. And then right there, zooming in, there it is, the white Hyundai Elantra. All right. So that marries up nicely with the phone pinging in southeast Pullman, Washington over here at around 2:54. And it takes exactly about 8 minutes to get from this area over here to where Floyd's Cannabis Shop is, right over there. It turns out the video that was on surveillance that they had in Pullman around that time was a different Hyundai Elantra. All right, so that one wasn't going to be used at trial or anything like that, but his phone was pinging in this area here. Now, if you're a pro burger out there, you turn that into the biggest story in the history of the world when they weren't even going to use that at trial. All right, so after that, the vehicle goes into the area here, and then we know that at 3:30 it enters in, does its first loop, etc. But we also know that around 3:46, a DoorDash delivery was made. Now, what's interesting is we now have information regarding that. Like I said before, I did a FOIA request. You can see M at the beginning there. That's her. Molly is the DoorDasher. It was at 1122 King Road, and the customer's name was Xana Kernodle. So it wasn't somebody else out there, you guys. It was actually Xana Kernodle. And the order was delivered at 3:59, but it was ordered on November 13th, 2022 at 2:15. And that's sort of interesting because that means that they were home right around the same time that Bethany Funk and Dylan Mortensen and Madison Mogan and Kaylee Gonzalez were all up in Kaylee's room, and they were talking about maybe going to back to the grub truck to get some food. They even texted the Uber driver, or the private driver that they had from Uber, and he said he was available, but they didn't use it. And apparently, now I don't know if Xana Kernodle ordered this order while she was still out and about, like what her GPS coordinates were when she ordered the DoorDash. She may have been home. She may have been still out with Ethan and expecting to get it later. But it was delivered at 3:59, it says. Now this part here is where I thought was really interesting as well. It says the customer text the DoorDasher. This might be Xana Kernodle's last text. She texted Molly and said, "Are you having trouble finding it?" And that's interesting when you read on here. This is the DoorDash delivery interview. It says, "Molly told me she worked for 12 to 18 hours on the night of November 12th to the 13th and received 3 orders in the King Road, Queen Road area. 2 of the orders were at and that's probably the 500 Queen Road apartment complex, which is immediately to the east of 1122 King Road. Molly said the delivery at 1122 King Road was her final order for the evening. Molly said she could not find the 1122 King Road address, as the address number was hidden by the porch light, which caused her to remain in the area for approximately 15 minutes. Molly also stated her Google Maps told her to go to the parking lot immediately behind 1122 King Road. Molly stated she initially parked in the front of 1122 King Road and could see a female in the top left window. I bet you, I've said this before, that was Xana Kernodle. She thought it was on the 3rd floor, but I think it was the 2nd floor looking out of the window. Nobody was up in the 3rd floor bathroom looking outside, okay? It was just Molly. That was her mind because she was close enough to the building. She thought that was the top floor. Molly stated she initially parked in the front road and could see a female in the top left window, as I just said, the 3rd-story bathroom. That's what her description was, but I think it was just the living room. Molly said she saw the same female a couple more times in the same window, and she would duck down when Molly looked at her. So that means, like, Xana was looking out the window waiting for the DoorDash delivery driver, and at 2:54 she said, "Hey, are you lost?" Molly then said she drove to the back parking lot behind 1122 King Road and parked. She stated she could see the back courtyard area behind the house, and noticed all the lights were on. So that's the sliding glass door in the back. Molly stated her map told her to walk into the back of the house, but she did not feel comfortable doing so because there was no path. And it says right here, customer text Dasher 3:54 a.m. Are you having trouble finding it? So for all the people out there that said at 2:30, those are people being murdered. Oh, it was in the house. It was really loud, etc. Do you really think somebody's, still waiting on their DoorDash delivery and then literally texting somebody saying, "Are you having trouble finding it?" Do you really think that? See, that's the thing, you guys. There was a party going on at 1112 King Road, and there was girls screaming and guys yelling, and that's what people do when they're drinking. I've been to thousands of parties over the years, especially back in college, and that's what it sounds like. But people want to turn it into something bigger because they don't believe Kohberger's the killer for some unknown reason, even though he's confessed. And he did confess because he was asked, "Did you do all these things?" He said, "Yes, I did." And he has pled guilty to killing all of them. And not only that, he gave away his right to appeal. All right? Nobody would do that. He would have done an Alford plea of some sort where he'd still have a shot. He doesn't. All right? So Brian Kohberger is the killer. But if you can explain to me how there is this murder going on, and yet Xana Kernodle is still, checking on her DoorDash delivery. And here is the portion where the DoorDash driver comes in. Now it's 3:46 up here in 3 seconds, and I use the daylight overlay again. And you'll be able to see, here it comes. The actual normal look would look like that. But I have the daylight on so you can see a little bit better what everything looked like. There's nothing different. See that? Blinking it on and off. And there comes the DoorDash delivery driver. All right. Then the DoorDash delivery driver at around 3:52-ish, right there. You can see her walk over here. And there she is right there. And if you turn that off, that's what it looked like. You can actually see a little bit better in the dark because of her silhouette. She's right there, but she's standing next to that car. See that? And then here she comes, walking, leaving, and walking back up the street. And it's interesting, right? Because that's right around 3:50. Let's turn that on. 3:52 and 3 seconds. And 2 minutes later, Xana Kernodle is texting, are you having trouble finding it? Because she can look out the window and see that she's struggling finding the area. Okay? So, all of this information put together absolutely debunks the people out there that say, oh, there was this other murder because there was people screaming. Now, maybe there was another one. It wasn't associated with the 1122 King Road house. We just aren't aware of that one. Okay, but definitely there was no murder happening inside of 1122 King Road at 2:30-ish when there was this other screaming going on, because Xana Kernodle is up and about, and even at 2:15 she orders the DoorDash delivery. She was using Snapchat, etc., all the way up until the time, and even I think that was even at 4:12. So anyways, you guys, that is going to do it for this video. I hope it all made sense. It takes a long time to get these FOIA requests out there. So if you guys could hit that like button for me, that would be fantastic. Thank you all very much for watching. And as I always say, until next time, be safe out there.